Good morning. Well, midday. Hello. How are we all today? And let's make sure that you can hear me. I think we've got, yep, everything's looking good on my end. Tell me if you can't hear me or if there's any problems like that. But I think we are all good to go. Welcome to the first live video for Scrap a Rainbow. And it's Red Week. So today we're going to be focusing on the color red. And we're going to make a page today. You can scrap along if you want, or you can just watch and absorb and then use that information to scrapbook however you would like. I know that everybody has different ways that they take what they learn from a class and put it into use. So all of those different ways that you do that are certainly welcome. So if you want to make something along with me, that's great. Or if you're the kind of person who doesn't ever actually make pages inspired by each specific lesson, but rather wants to watch them all and just let it kind of soak in and then come out through the scrapbooking that you're doing, that's okay too. The greatest part about learning as an adult and it not being like school with grades and exams is that we can learn in all the different ways that we want to learn. So you're always good here. No deadlines, no stress. But if you want to follow along, you can. And Pam has pulled supplies for this layout, but she went a little overboard and has pulled enough to make 5 or 6 layouts. So I better do some scrapbooking so that Pam has something to do. Yeah. Okay. So hello to those of you who are live with us today. I've got Pam and Orangina and Barbara, Les and China Girl and Sophia and Melinda, Jean, Valerie, Amy, Kay, and Angela, and Orangina has spotted my Big Hero 6 outfit, so I'm very excited that someone noticed. So yeah, I've got my San Francisco Institute of Technology, and I have Baymax on the back of my cardigan. But I'm scrapbooking Cruella, so different red Disney characters. But that actually leads me to one of the questions, so maybe I should start there. So I'm going to start each of the live videos with a little Q&A session, and then I'll scrapbook, and then at the end of the video I'll do another Q&A session. So if you have a question while I'm scrapbooking and you really want to make sure that I answer it in either the beginning or the end, if you want to preface it in the live questions with question in big capital letters so that I make sure I don't miss it as part of the friendly chit chat, that's totally cool, and I will try to make sure I don't miss any of them like that. And you can also post them on the forum, and that's where I'm going to start. Okay, so we've got a few questions that were posted by people who couldn't make it to the live, so let's have a little look at those, and then we'll make the page, and then I'll kind of bring it back around to questions and answers at the end. All right, so on the forum we have got first question up. The first question was Maureen, and it's a really big question about red, and we've probably all dealt with it. The biggest thing about red ink, how to make it not look like a crime scene. And my answer is to don't try to do the things that make it look like that. So you know how with other colors, we might just splatter the ink on. It works in every color except red. In red, it looks like blood. There are no problems with pretty much every other color. And so don't do that technique with that color. It's that simple. So I don't ever take red mist and just splatter it on like I would gold. Instead, I look for other ways that I can use red ink. I still use red ink quite often, and I just do it in different ways. So you can use red ink in a blend. You can use red ink through a stencil. You can use red ink with a stamp. And all of those things will work just fine. The other way you can think about it is to give it a black edge. So if you want to use a stamp that's a big open space, stamp that in black and do your ink work inside with red. So for example, you're making a Christmas themed thing, and instead, I wouldn't stamp a Christmas ornament onto my page in red ink. I would stamp it in black ink and color it in red. Yeah. And that's how it would not look like, hopefully, a Christmas ornament that's bleeding. But the biggest one is don't just spray it on and don't splatter it, because both of those things make us think of crime scene or something related to that, injuries that might not be crimes. And so, yeah, just notice the connotation of that and don't try and use that color in the same way. Yeah? It's really a simple answer. Okay, what else we got here? Amy has a very, very serious question. Will I always match my outfits to the color class of the week? Yes, that's the plan. Yes. And my nails change through as well. So hopefully for the lives that I can keep up. I took notes on what nail colors I used so that I could then make them match for the lives. And then I don't have the energy to then change it again for the lives on YouTube during the week. So if you also watch my YouTube lives where I do all the random rubbish chatting, you will see that I have the color of the week on my hands, because that's one step too far to do it again for that. But I tried to do it a color. Oh, Courtney says the crime scene inking idea would work if it was on theme. Like maybe you are scrapbooking about a crime podcast, or maybe a book you read. Or hopefully none of us have actual crime scenes to scrapbook. But how I got into scrapbooking was through the play Crimes of the Heart, which is about sisters who have a scrapbook full of all the times that their family has been in the newspaper, and they're all horrible things. So maybe you do have maybe somebody does scrapbook a crime scene. Then you can use the red mist for that. Okay. All right. Oh, wrong button. Okay. Next question over here. I'm going to jump up and down. Okay. Right. Annalise has got a question about color pairings. And what colors would I put with red other than black and white and other than red and green to make something Christmassy? Because she says she falls back on red, black, and white a lot and would like to mix it up. The good bit is that's what this week is all about. So today I am doing red, black, white, and gold. But all of the other the other layouts you'll see from this week include other colors. So why don't I show you one of my favorite color story combinations right here, right now, so that you can kind of get in your head the idea of how I might mix red with other colors. Right, so I'm going to put a piece of paper down on the desk and put you onto desk cam. So let's have, there we go. Let's have some plain cardstock and desk cam. Right, is that all working properly? Yes. Okay, so combinations with red that, I'm just looking for inks to show you what I want to show you, that are not just red and black and not just red and green for Christmas, of course. Yeah, okay, so let's look. Did I stack these up with the swatches showing? No, that would be far, far too organized. I did tidy my desk. I even prepared my trimmer for today. But it turns out I still did some things that were silly. So I got to search for the red. But, you know. Oh, that's weird. I reached the end of the stack and I didn't find, because it was here the whole time. I looked there first and I looked right past it. Okay, so this is a color combination. I love red with white and light blue and maybe pink. I like it these three as well. And I like it these four. And you'll see this come up. So red. So that's Festive Berries with light blue. That's Tumbled Gloss. And Spun Sugar, light pink. Yeah? So red, light blue, light pink, and white make a lovely combination. We've got Following the Rainbow. We'll give you red, orange, that's Ripe Persimmon, yellow, that's Scattered Straw. Red, orange, yellow gives you a lovely color combination that feels very autumnal. Right, where am I going here? But also, this is the same red. I'm just sticking with Festive Berries at the moment because it's the truest red, I feel. Instead of going to yellow, going to shades of orange. Yeah. And then even could come down into saltwater taffy. So we're going toward pink and then into a truer pink. That's worn lipstick. I like that color combination together, and the pinks make it less autumnal, less specifically leafy. Yeah. And let's do some red with some other blues. So there's my red. Red with, oh, don't just put your fingers right on top of the ink, Shimelle. That's kind of messy. That's what I did. So this is Salty Ocean. So a more saturated medium blue than the light blue up there. And then put it with a nice dark blue. Navy Chip Sapphire. Now, what if this starts to feel too much like a flag? Depending on where you are, may or may not give you that context. So how can we look at breaking that up a little? Well, if I'm looking at the rainbow, which you'll get used to me talking a lot about because there's a reason why I want to talk about the rainbow and not the color wheel. And maybe I come back to that in a little bit. But if we look at where we are in the rainbow, so we've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So if I want to add something to this to make it feel less like just red, white, and blue, then I can go right in the middle, split the difference to the yellow, which would then be primary colors, right? Red, yellow, blue. And we did that on a layout already. So here's my yellow edition. But if I'm using shades and I'm ending up with, 2 tones of blue or maybe even multiple tones of yellow, for example, what if I put in a nice bright yellow like mustard seed? Yeah, and I could even add in a darker red. You might want brick, which I don't have in oxide, but I've got barn door. And having those multiple shades of the colors then makes it not feel like primary colors, just red, yellow, red, blue, and yellow. And that's okay, right? Yeah, so there's some combinations, but you'll have more throughout class this week. I hope that gives you a nice idea. I also really like, without the blue, I really like red and pink color schemes. So let's do one of those. And I even like it with saltwater taffy. Like this. And spun sugar. Or spun sugar again. I need a re-inker for that one. Festive Berries. And last one, because I've run out of paper. Whoops, excuse me while I reach across my desk to the one at the bottom of the pile. Picked raspberry. I love this as a color scheme. Yeah? Oh, I don't love that. Maleficent will not like me for that. Okay. Yeah? So there's a whole bunch of different color schemes. There's 6. Hopefully that is useful. Autumn really likes red, purple, blue a lot, which is certainly an option. Just want to make sure I don't lose my Festive Berries. It's out here. Okay. Oop. Oh no, just made a mess of my drawer, but that's okay. All right. Sort that out in the end. Okay. So that's that question answered. And then you'll get to see lots of different options throughout. And keep in mind that just because it's the first video and it's all about red, it doesn't mean it's the only time that you'll hear about red in the whole class. Because if I only ever mentioned red now, by the time we get to the other end of the rainbow, I would just be doing one color on its own, right? So just because your favorite color combination or something doesn't come up the first time that color is mentioned, keep in mind that it might come around. Like, so I might look at autumnal color schemes in Orange Week because orange is a more prominent color and it just fits nicer there for me. Yeah, but so the whole, all of the colors will come across all the time. Okay, let's just ask a question and I'll do that one and then I'll scrap. Okay, so she says, red is often used as an accent color. What are your thoughts about using red as a main color? And I think one of the questions on the forum was a similar sort of thing. Joe, I love marking, she said, I find red as a dominant color utterly overwhelming. It takes my eye away from the photos. You might not feel the same, but if you do, I wonder how you deal with the composition and paper choice. So I think the best way to answer that is to go ahead and start scrapbooking. Thoughts beforehand are that red needs a balance. And an only slightly sarcastic thought is talk to the Canadians because here in the UK we have a red, white, and blue flag. In the United States, also a red, white, and blue flag. Canadian flag is just red and white, yes? So the Canadians are very used to seeing red and white alone, isolated. And I find that when you talk to Canadians, they're like, what do you mean red's overwhelming? It's just because you're not used to seeing it, and they are. So there is a certain amount of, we know that red is an alarming color. Red is purposely chosen for things like stop signs because it catches our eye. And that may mean that using red as the main color on your page makes it more difficult to put the focus on your photos. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. And it also means that if you look at the shades of red, you may find a world of difference. If you use the red that is the red crayon, then that may take away from your photos more than the red I'm going to use today, where this red, I'm going to hold it up because you can compare it to my cardigan and see what I mean. These are different reds, yes? And so one is going to change things, is going to change the way you look at stuff. So this is more of a stop sign red. That might make you go, it's really bright and I'm not sure about putting my pictures next to it. Where this one's going to be more like how we see a brick building and it fades into the background. Yeah, but I think I will keep talking about that as we go. Orangina says red is her nemesis because the fact that red warning labels are around have done a good job on her psychologically, so she only sees red as a negative. Do you have any suggestions on using colors you don't favor? Okay, number one, I've got a weird status message over here from YouTube, but I think we're still okay. But if you're in the comments in your live right now, can you just give me like any sort of feedback there so that I know if the error message I'm getting to you is affecting your playback? Because I might just need to refresh the page on my end, but I don't want to do that unless I know what's going on. Okay, so colors that you don't love. Virginia says where she lives, the taxis are red, so nobody buys a red car. Okay, Pam says we're all right. Okay, so I'm just going to ignore that that error message, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh and hope that nothing glitches out so that the error message goes away. All right. I think we're all okay. Okay. Sorry about that. It makes me really nervous when it's a class. Okay. So yeah. Courtney is now considering if her non-alarm of red is based on being a Canadian. Okay, so using colors that you don't like. Let's go ahead and put it on the desk, and I'll talk about that as I get into the page here. Anything you want to use, but you find that you don't because you're just not drawn to it, it's not your favorite. And one, I think that's a really handy way to say it, and I noticed this because my son, when he learned how to say like things that he liked and didn't like, from somewhere outside my house, you know, school and things like that, he'd picked up saying, I love this and I hate that. And it really made me uncomfortable. I didn't like the word hate being used to describe something you don't like. And so I said, you know, that's a word that can really upset people. So why don't we really focus on a phrase that could still convey that that's not your favorite thing without it sounding like that is the most horrible thing that ever happened in the world. And I realized as I was saying it just like that, I was like, oh, not my favorite. That's really a very polite way to say, I don't like that. Yeah. To say, okay, that's not my favorite. So one, if you reframe to say, okay, it's not that I dislike red, and certainly not that I hate red, but that it's not my favorite. Then find ways that make it easier to use that color. And I would say, number one, if it's in your photos, that's going to help make it easier, right? Because I can be drawn by what's in the picture. So they're not overwhelmingly red photos, but there is a definite red element here. Okay, so that's going to make it easier for me to scrapbook with red. Of course it is. And then also try edging it in with other things that you do like that are your favorite sort of thing. So if you have a little bit of red in your layout versus 80% red in your layout, you're going to, have, it's kind of like baby steps, right? So you're going to be able to get a little bit more each time as you go and feel happier with it. One thing you might want to look at specifically with red is how do you feel about Christmas layouts? When you look at Christmas layouts, are you more drawn to the red or are you more drawn to the green? I love red as a color. I wear it all the time. I craft with it all the time. But I actually really adore green-based Christmas design. And it took me a while before I really noticed that I was like, oh, I just want all the green things. And then if I had like 4 shades of green and a drop of red, I'm like, that is my happy Christmas place. So there we go. Okay. Right. Courtney loves the happy accident. Well, it's not really an accident. It is planned. So this red bubble here. So this photo is not taken by another photographer. It's taken by us, and I'm holding my phone as the remote to the camera behind his shoulder. And our camera is sitting on the ground, but it was absolutely pouring down with rain, which is, you can see the rain in this one a little bit, but it makes me laugh because you can see what happens to my hair the first bit of rain. So I'm not like actually drowned rat status yet. My hair's done that whole, you think you can put me in a ponytail? I'm going to be frizzy all over. That's stage 1 of English rain with my hair. And I think he's inherited that because his is frizzing a bit too. So I couldn't put the camera on the floor. I needed to put the camera on some stuff to keep it out of a puddle. So I had like a shopping bag that I could put in the puddle that hopefully would keep things all right. And then I put my coat on top of that, and my coat is red. And then I kind of nestled the camera down into the red coat. And where the lens is focused here, not here, I get this just where there's just a tiny bit of fabric coming in front of the lens. I get this little cloud of red. So it's not done in editing, but it's also not really there. It's a bit of red reflecting up into the lens. And I did it with yellow at the beginning of March for our Tiana and the frog photos. And I did it at the end of the challenge with orange for our Nemo ones. Okay. So yeah, it's basically red bokeh. Okay, so for today's layout, we're going to do a bunch of square layering. If you don't like covering up paper, you can have the extra work of gutting the papers behind because there's definitely potential here to gut your paper. I'm not going to, and it's okay. It's not at your desk, so please don't panic. Gutting does not make for good viewing. It's just not fun. Okay, so I have 2 4x6 portraits, and they are going to live together in a row like this. I did not draw this to scale because this column should also be, this is 4 inches, this is 4 inches, which means that should be 4 inches and it looks a little more like 6. So I apologize. Oh, goodness. All right, so this box is going to go all the way across here, and this one will be pattern paper. Okay. Then there's going to be horizontal pieces across here. Remember, I included a border punch in my supplies, so I'm going to use that. And possibly one border punched, one torn. You could do both punched, you do both torn. You could be both, they could be both straight edges. Anyway, an edge treatment. Could also replace, anytime I use a border piece from paper, you can replace it with a border sticker or a strip of washi or a strip of ribbon. Easy, easy, easy replacements. Okay. But behind here, here's where you're going to be like, oh, Shimelle, you're covering things up. There's going to be this effect. So we're going to build up from the background. Yeah. Title's going to sit over here. Yeah. And we're going to have, the journaling can fit in a couple different places depending on what patterns you have and what you want to include. So you can do journaling in here. It could be closer to the photos if you prefer. Or you could do journaling down here. Or you could do both. Yeah, you could have the whole right-hand side of the layout for journaling. Okay, then there'll also be a little bit of embellishment. So if you're new to my sketching on the fly, I draw those as sunshines. So there's going to be a sunshine embellishment. It won't actually be a literal sunshine. That's just what I mean by embellishment. There's going to be some up here. Probably this side, but it could go over here too. And you could either go up here or down here, but you want them in a triangle. Now, I prefer usually to keep my triangle going around my photos, so my photo's in the middle. So I'm going to go with this corner, but there are a lot of different places you can move it. It could also be hanging down from the top rather than coming up from the bottom. And they're not literal sunshines unless that's what you want them to be. Okay, so this is terribly not to scale, but here we go. Oh yes, if you didn't watch yesterday's YouTube Live, I do indeed have plenty more sketch paper for live videos from scrapbook.com. Thank you very much. Okay, so that, if you want to screen cap this terribly not to scale sketch, there we have it. All right, so now you know why I needed to prepare my trimmer, because the first thing I'm going to do is set my background and do this piece that goes almost to the edge of the background, but not quite. And those two pieces are going to be one that's red and one that's black and white. So I pulled both of these and showed them in the preparation video because you might prefer to do your layouts on cardstock. That's an ombre cardstock, but you could still do it with solid cardstock. Or you might prefer the depth of a pattern paper, which I do. So I'm going to do mine like this, but you could certainly do it on cardstock and it would be all fine. So we start there. So need to get to the trimmer, and it's all accessible today. So this one just has the branding strip coming off so that it can be the background. I don't know if you want to know any specific supplies as I go, but the whole concept here, in case you're new to how my class process videos go, is to use something from your stash. You do not need the specific materials that I'm using. And I am using things, some of the things I'm using in my stash have been there for a long time. This piece of paper is from 2011. So, you know, if this piece of paper were a human, it would be in secondary school here. So anyway, but that red one is 1 Canoe 2 Creekside, called Rings and Crosses. And then this one needs to show 1/4 inch around all 4 sides. So I'm creating this canvas of red, black, and white from the beginning. But there is also going to be gold in the mix. So I've got that. Now, using different brands. Oh, that one was from Studio Calico, Classic Calico Newsprint, it's called. Okay, using different brands, I always prefer to ink my edges so that they go together nicely. So today I'll be using Black Soot Distress ink to pull it all together. Could actually, because I'm using gold, black and brown are both good choices here. So if you prefer the warmth of the brown ink versus the kind of more definite inking of the black, you can totally go with brown. It'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so then this goes on to that background. So if you wanted to gut the red and cut out the middle now, totally could. I'm not going to. There we go. Nice and even in the middle, she says, but doesn't do. Let's see if the second goes a bit better. Yeah. Okay. So we have this. Okay, and the two photos, I'm going to come over here to the side. Just trying to see which. I think I like them better that way. But I don't think there's a right or wrong there. They're in different scale. Obviously, he's small here and big here. So sometimes that makes it have a really obvious answer, and sometimes no. Okay. So if I'm lining that edge up there, then I should end up with a nice squared photo block here. Right. Now, I want something here. And that for me is going to be this collage-y type paper. So I need to come over here, decide if I'm happy with it being that corner. Kind of like it to be this section so that I get some lines in there. Okay, so I'm going to cut that strip off there so that I can get to the middle of the page. Okay. So then I need to mark where the top and bottom are going to be. Because if I was just, I mean, I could do it there and then I would just need to mark one side, but I'm being difficult. I want it here. I want that lined paper to end up at the bottom there. So I'm going to mark here and here. Could also cut a strip all the way across, depending on how concerned you are about the paper that you're using and how many projects you want to use it on. All right, have I cut that wide enough? Yes, I have. I think I'm going to stick before I trim that edge off, actually. So I can even ink this while it's here. Orangina says, what made you decide to break the red frame with the photos? Because I'm using 4x6 photos. So I wanted all 3 slots to feel even. Yeah. If I keep it within the frame, this is ½ inch smaller. Yeah, so I then end up with 4, 4, 3.5, which is enough to certainly notice. And sometimes you might want that. Sometimes you might want for the, oh, of course I'm going to run out of adhesive while we're live. Of course. Sometimes you might want the journaling to feel smaller than the photos, in which case keep it inside. But yeah, in this case, the whole plan with that sketch is that this box goes across and this bit is underneath. Yeah. I know this seems like a really weird way of cutting and I don't normally do it this way, but because it's a collage paper, there's like pieces that I'm like, I don't want to cut through that. I want that to stay usable. All right. So then just ink on this. Whoops. Where'd it go? On this outside edge here. Yeah. Larson says, question, how do you place the photos of their landscape? If you're creating a layout that's landscape, turn the whole thing. So you're either going to have photos at the bottom and journaling up here, or you're going to have photos at the top and journaling at the bottom. And you're going to place, if you have anything with written lines, you're going to place your lines going that way. Cool. Fabulous. Excellent question. Now, borders. Okay. I'm going to make this border be a few pieces, because if you look, straight line, then scalloped line, straight line, then torn line. The straight line is going to come in something that has a horizontal line to it. It might also have a vertical line, because it might be something like graph paper that would work absolutely fine. But it might also just be a stripy paper, and just one way. So whichever way you're placing your paper, you want your line to go along with this. So if it was here, I would have a vertical line. If it was here, I have a horizontal line, because I want it to emphasize this block. Come on. So these don't need to be very big, 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter, depending on how you think. It's probably absolutely fine. You can go a bit bigger if the pattern you're using feels like bigger would be better. You can go smaller if your pattern paper feels like 1/2 inch is too big. You can use a strip of washi. Always okay. All right, ink these. And then these go above and below that center section. So this is why I knew that somebody would be like, but there's an awful lot of that black and white paper that's hidden. And it is. And if you want to just piece the whole thing together instead of having that whole layer at the back, it's absolutely fine. But I don't know if you know this, but I have a lot of paper. A lot. So I feel better about going, woohoo, I used up a piece of paper, than, oh, I still have just as much to take up space. I don't have room for new paper because I still have leftovers. So there we go. Oh, I forgot. Ran out of adhesive. Oh, you know what I have? Scrapbook.com also sent me something else to try. Where did I put it? They sent me their new adhesives. Should I try it live? Is that a bad idea? I may have made it a bad idea by putting it somewhere I can't find it. It's okay. I have refills for the adhesive that I have now. Okie dokie dokie. One way or the other, we have more glue. Oh, here they are. Let's try it. The one I'm excited about is this one. So let's try it. If I don't like it, then we find out. So this is Scrapbook.com's dotted adhesive roller, which is refillable. So I think this is going to be pretty much the same, but I could be wrong. So it looks like that. Yeah, that side is sticky. Ooh, feels good. Okay. We'll see how we go. This is going right up to that edge there, and then same again at the top. Yeah. Okay, now, I haven't added any red since we started, so I better add some red, right? Okay, what I'm going to do is bring in my second red pattern paper. Now, I've chosen 2 red pattern papers that are from different collections, different designers, and they're not 100% identical shade. They are not like a Pantone match, but they are, you know, if I put my nails versus that, you can tell that they are similar. If I put my cardigan next to that, you can see, so my nails and my cardigan are a totally different kind of red than these, yeah? So the 2 reds that I've picked out are in the same vein. Now, one of the questions that came up on the forum was, let me just see who said it. Annalise said, how do you cope with varying shades and hues of red on the same layout? I find that I get stuck when I'm trying to find multiple red papers or embellishments to use if they don't quite match. So this is the answer to that. So I'm looking for, are the reds not identical, but are they similar in a way that lets them work together? I know where there's a red straight away that to me has a very different feel. And I love this pattern paper, but to me this is a different red. It is a different red. Yeah? So if you can identify your reds into those sorts of things, so this to me feels more like what I call crayon red. This feels more like a brick red. And when I go into a layout, then I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking for brick reds or I'm looking for red crayon reds. And I don't tend to use both of them together. If I did use them together, I would be very purposeful about it and use a bunch of shades of red. That's the way that you can take a color and be like, oh, hold on. These don't really go together, but I want to use them all. And it's a bit like mixing white and cream. You can mix white and cream, but it will look better the more you do it. So you can either have all white or all cream, or you can say there's enough on here that both are represented, and having the more the merrier kind of shades works really well. Somerset Studio did a project years back, like we're talking probably 15 years ago, called True Colors, where they gave artists, they published this group of journals that had been passed around between a different group of artists, and each one had a single color, or a couple of them I think had color schemes, but mostly single colors, and each artist had to work in it in their style, but within that color scheme. And the one that I was like, I don't know if I'll like this, was that somebody had chosen white as their book's color scheme. And I kept thinking, well, what do you do if your whole entry has to be white? You know, I felt like that old joke about you daydream through your art lesson and then the teacher says you haven't done your work and you're like, no, I drew a snowman in a snowstorm on a snowy mountain. And it's just a blank piece of paper. So actually the white journal was gorgeous. And the thing that made it work was that it was just every shade of white and cream under the sun all together. And there's an element of that to this pattern paper. Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting toward yellow here, but we've got a bright white and we've got all of these different shades. So you could do the same thing with red if you wanted to purposely involve lots of different shades of red, but you're going to need to approach it in a way where you're aware of that. Does that make sense? Okay. Orangina says, would you mix warm and cool tones of the same hue? I feel like this is a bigger question for the class as a whole, and you'll see sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. There's absolutely no reason not to have warm and cool tones both on the same layout because, you know, red is a warm tone, blue is a cool tone. My son's two favorite colors are blue and orange. They're opposite each other on the color wheel, and one is like the warmest color we know. Orange is so warm you could never say orange was a cool color, and blue is the coolest color that we know. It's very cool, and he loves them together, and there's absolutely no reason why not to do that. But then red, we know we can make a red with warmer undertones, and we can make a red with cooler undertones. So do those reds necessarily work together? It's easier to just stick to one, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Yeah? It just means if you do it, you're going to have to think a little bit more and look a little bit more as you go. Whereas if all your reds are pretty much the same, you know they'll work together, no problem. Okay, so I've got my scallops up there. I'm going to tear the one for the bottom edge. Sorry, Amy. But you can punch both, you could tear both, you could cut both with a straight line, no problem. This one's going down here. I don't ink the torn bit, but I do ink the other sides. You can always try it and see what you think. When I first got into tearing paper the first time around, I tried inking it thinking, oh, it would be really cool. And no, I just never came up with a way that I liked it. I liked the way that is just no ink on that torn edge. Oh, wrong one. I should put that away. So far, so good with this, by the way, but I'll need to use it a bit longer to give you a real verdict. Okay, so this is coming down here. All right, so this is kind of the basic structure of this layout, and you could do this with all different sorts of options because you could do that in any color scheme. You could do this with 3 photos instead of 2. You could do this and make it smaller if your photos were smaller and then have a wide block of journaling, or smaller photos but more of them and then a journaling box that fits the space that's empty. Yes. Elena says she's in Chicago and they're very used to blue and orange together because both the bears and the university are blue and orange, so it's everywhere. Amy's not ready for tearing already. Angela says she wishes she could tear straight, that hers end up too uneven. Well, I mean, it's not meant to be totally straight, but here's my advice for tearing. What I just did was the more difficult way to do it because I tore the big piece away from me, and what I would normally recommend is because of where there was method to my madness, but it's not what I'd recommend. So I'd always recommend the big, if you're right-handed, the big piece under your left hand, and then roll toward you. That's going to give you the white edge here. So in this case, this piece is discarded. Roll, roll, roll. Now what you may find sometimes, if you try to tear and all you get are peaks, pointy bits, it's because you're tearing against the grain of the paper. If you've got a big enough strip, turn it 90 degrees and try the exact same technique. And it depends on the paper stock. So some paper will let you tear it much more easily in one direction or the other. Sometimes the grain is really obvious and sometimes it's not. Yeah, so there we go. But that's what I would recommend. Go slow, practice. It's not a gift, it's practice. Yeah? Okay, so I've got this as the big basis of the page. And, oh, Alana uses a tearing ruler with a deckled edge. Yeah, you can totally do that. Some people have good luck by using just a plain wet paintbrush and marking the line and then tearing it from there. I don't have that. That does obviously work with mulberry paper if you've ever used that. But I don't find that it works great with scrapbook paper. But some people really like that technique, so you can try it. Dahlia says this combination is reminding her of Jenny Bolin. And even though I haven't used any Jenny Bolin, but yeah, Jenny Bolin always, that red, black, cream was Jenny Bolin's kind of trademark color scheme. And Jenny Bolin used to say, red is a neutral. I keep red thread in my sewing machine because anything I need to just sew a little bit on, red's gonna look great. And so in her mind, if you could keep that colored thread in your sewing machine and use it all the time, then that was a neutral. Red is a neutral. Right. So let's get a title on here and look at our 3 places for embellishment. So I put all the other things over here. So I have my lettering. Yeah. So I've got words in gold. I've got little letters in red. I've got big letters in black. And I'm very tempted. I want the words, oh, did I check to make sure? I'm pretty sure I did. S-T-Y-L-E, yeah. So I want the word style in the big letters. And then I was running this by WB because when I scrapbook his photos, I always double check things with him. We had a big giggle about using the everyday and being like, I don't know, it's just called everyday style. As if this is what we walk around looking like all the time. So that did make me laugh. So we could do that, or we could be more specific to what we were wearing or where we're standing. So our outfits are inspired by Cruella, the movie, the live action movie, and we are outside Liberty, which is a big part of where the film was filmed. Film was filmed? Words are hard. Yeah. Okay. So what if I put that together and I do everyday Cruella style? I kind of think that might work. So let's, well, number one, let me get this to come off this sticky backing. Okay. Does not want to. There we go. Once you get, when the backing wants to come away, you just have to get that initial bit so that you can get the sticker out. Trivia about this question. So this is everyday, like merged into one with a capital D, but it's one word. And it was because I wasn't allowed, I didn't have room in the collection to have every space day as well as an everyday. And I have this big problem about it going wrong in design because a lot of designers, you know, aren't grammar nerds. And so every day with no space, all one word, means like ordinary, commonplace. Yeah? My everyday cup of coffee is not super fancy. Yeah? But every space day, two different words, means something that you do every day. And so the way you can check it is by putting the word single in the middle. I do this every single day. But my every single day coffee, no, that doesn't make sense, yeah? So if we want something that just means ordinary. So anyway, I did it like this so that there's the potential for you to just cut right through there in a nice straight line and put the space in if you want it to be two different words. I don't know. I might overthink these things, but it made sense to me at the time. Okay, what I don't like is having the insides of open letters be confusing to read. So I'm just moving this around to see where's the best spot. I'm going to have breaks in the middle of the E, the big E, and the D. But I think the rest will be all right. Okay. So I'm going to use all of my letter sticker things here. All three. Orangina is also a grammar nerd and appreciates it. Yay! Right. I'm going to do this in all caps. C R U E O L A. And then style underneath here, I think. Maybe, look. See how this C is sitting on the little corner made by the loop and the Y? What if I bring this over here and make a corner on this side too? Because the T is going to stick up. That might not be. Yeah, so let's make it like that. Okay. Oh, the L. I realize I'm talking about letters and then I go, oh, the L would also ascend. So it might be better budged over a bit, but then I think the T might ascend enough that you can't read it. So hold on. I'm not sticking. I'm just getting the letters. Let's have a look. So if I did the L here, which would be the Y there, does it all fit in? Or am I better off the other way around? Oh, 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 oh. Nope. Doesn't fit. Okay, other way. Don't always get it right. Sometimes have to move stuff around. Okay, so I'm using the corner of the T there to frame the bottom corner of the A. I know it means I've got this, but that's okay because I also have some embellishment in this part of the page on my plan. So I can use that space there to become some embellishment. Yay. Could do with being straightened out there. All right, with me so far? Amy says I overthink in the right ways, and it would be nice if all designers overthought like that. It's okay. Right, if your middle word in your title was longer, you could have it come all the way across and hit the L over here. Okay, so let's deal with this and get into the embellishment. Yeah. So, things I brought out. These little phrase stickers. Some bigger, oh, that's borders. These labels that are red here. And wild card, these, which are from Cosmo Cricket back in the day, and I must have pulled these out for a gazillion layouts over the years, and I still haven't put them on. And guess what? They're not coming on today either. The number one thing actually looks quite nice in the yellow, but look, here's a good example of do I mix the two different shades of red. So can we see that? Is it better if I hold it up? So cool tone brick red. That's a red orange. Yeah, like literally what you get when you mix red and orange. You get the color red orange. Now red and red orange, those two reds could work really well, but it would mean adding lots of that red orange. It would be like using crackling campfire and festive berries together. If you think in terms of inks. But yeah, I couldn't just do one box in that orange and leave it on its own. Yeah, I would need to mix it around. And if I look at the photo, the lighting in this photo does not call me to go, oh yeah, totally put orange with that. Yeah, so I'm afraid these are still not coming out to play. Sad times. Right, bye-bye. But these labels are. Now, they're not the exact shade. They are brighter, but they're not a proper orange. And we're going to make them work. It's fine. So one way to make shades play nicely together is inked edges so that you're getting a little defining line between the different shades. So this is going to come behind the letter stickers here, and it's going to go underneath that ledger strip if everything agrees with how I want it to go. So I'm going to tuck the red edge underneath the letter Y so it's not poking out in here. I'm just going to go right there, and this S is going to go right back over the top there. So I've got the start of a little bit of embellishment here. I've got another of those same sorts of pieces. Different shape, but same colors, same concept. I'm going to edge that postage stamp. And I'm going to bring this one up here and tuck it underneath there. Yeah, but you could do it from the top here if you prefer. Yeah, so I'm building 1, 2. Now, I don't have a third piece on that same thing that's a label. I do have this border piece though. So let's have a look at what we could do with that. Because I want something in here, in this space somewhere, to be my triangle. Now, I could just go find a different red label in some other, some other product. That's totally fine. But it's easy to use what you've already got out, yeah? So I'm going to pull it all the way over to the right-hand edge instead of putting it here like I did on the sketch, because I'm working with the pattern paper that I've pulled out. And this just has some nice layered elements here, so why not add more layers to the layering? So I've got a pattern paper that looks like it's layered, and I'm just going to add to that. Okay, so I've got the basis for 3 areas of embellishment. Yeah, I also realized that we've just hit 1 o'clock, so we're going to be finished within 10 minutes, which means I need to not lollygag. Now, I wanted to add in one more, a border piece, and I'm going to split this into 3 different pieces so I can use it in all 3 sections. So 1 border sticker becomes 3 embellishments. I'm going to go ahead and ink it all from the beginning, and then I'll have to do the little edges as I cut them. Does this have a little bit of blue? Yes. And actually there's blue in my lines there, and there's blue here. So if you were being a purist about the color scheme, you'd say, but actually there's tiny blue accents. Yes. But I'm not going to make a big, I'm not emphasizing the blue, not going to add in more blue pieces, not blue confetti or anything like that. If you found, as you were working on your page, that that would be really useful, then you could add in that extra color. Okay. So this one. Down here. And this one is going to go down here. I think cut that so it's just 1 airmail piece. Okay. And I don't want this to feel like you're supposed to read it. I want it to just be embellishment. So don't be surprised when I end up putting more stuff on top of there. All right. Les says, question, would you add any other color to your layout at this stage? Sometimes you might want to. If you get to this sort of stage and you've done this much and you're like, it just doesn't feel bright enough to me, then take another color and add it here, here, here. It doesn't need to be all over the page. It needs to be in 3 places for it to feel like it belongs. Yeah? Oh, that is totally not sticky now. There we go. Okay. Then to my little word pieces down here. So oh, no, I wasn't looking at yellow ones. Sorry. I wanted black and white and red. Okay, so here we go. Now, one of the questions that came up on the forum, how to use red without it looking like a Disney theme. And I found this a really interesting question. By the way, you could pop dot these if you prefer. Because I wondered, is your connotation always that everything that is red reminds you of Disney? Or do you watch enough of my videos that you're like, Shimelle, you make a lot of Disney pages? It's not a lie. It's very true. Because I don't see red and automatically think Disney. But there are certain color schemes that we have come to see. And in these collections, the Say Cheese collection always uses that color scheme. And it's this whole idea of black, white, red, yellow, and often a light blue. I find it really weird because literally the only time you see that color scheme at Disney is if you meet Mickey in his tux. Yeah. But the rest of the time, no. So it's just how we categorize it in our head rather than it being something that's really visible. If you take photos at Disney World, you suddenly go, oh, actually, I don't have all that much red in my pictures. No. Okay. So just seeing where I want these to overlap a little bit so that it becomes more obvious that the airmail piece is just a design element and not text. I still want this to feel like that's what you're supposed to read. Okay, some confetti then. Definitely want the gold this gold here to be a little more prominent, and I've got these stars from the same sheet. Yet another thing I like to overthink when I was designing product. So I'm going to bring a star to these different groupings. Ooh, that's quite big. Let's see if I go with the smaller ones if I'm happier. I might do star up here and dots at the others. Yeah. So that's going to be a star. And then there's going to be dots. 1, 2, 3 dots over here. And 3 dots down here. Yeah. I keep wanting to go there because it's nice with this triangle, but then it looks like a full stop to here. I don't want it to be punctuation. So I'm going to bring it down to this side. Okay. And I also had some colorful confetti pieces. So I'm going to bring red hearts into these same little zones. In fact, I'm going to do a red heart next to each of my gold dots. Let's see if that fits well down here as well. So the red hearts are actually brighter red than that background. And this is a point where different shades of red comes in really handy, because if I put a red enamel dot or red heart on top of that brick red, you're still going to see it. Which is nice, but they're really tiny, so the eye is quite forgiving of the shades. The bigger you go, the more our eye wants them to match. The smaller you go, the more it's willing to accept different combinations. And then I've also got this gold, but it's really yellow compared to the rosiness of this glitter gold, so I'm not going to use these in the end. But you could. Not a problem. Could also add black enamel dots in there too. Okay, so journaling's going to go in here and here, and I will put some mist across it, but then that's pretty much it. So and I didn't use the label in the end because I was using labels here and here, but if you didn't have label stickers and you wanted to just make the same sort of embellishment but from your paper, you could do that. And I didn't end up pulling out this optional paper that I thought about, but what I would do with it if where I was kind of thinking if it fits with the layout you're making, it doesn't fit here, but it might fit with yours, is if you end up with this is too big for what you want to write and you need more embellishment, then you could use a few circles or something like that cut out to give it more weight. And because I've got these big circles in the background and I've got the scallop here, circles are always going to feel like a natural part of the embellishment. All right, so let's take a few moments to go over any other questions, and then we'll go from there. But keep in mind, if I didn't answer your question really specifically today, that we do have 2 more videos coming, so it might be that it gets answered along the way. You might be all right. And if there's any, I will have a final read through, and if there's anything that I've missed, I'll put it in the red PDF or something like that. Okay. Okay. make sure. I'm going to check the live chat first. Have I answered all of the things that say question at the front? If you have a question and you're here live and I haven't answered it, go ahead and put it in the comments now. Just checking. I think I've answered all of the ones that came up in the live chat on the video. Okay, let's have a look on the thread. Okay. So on the forum, which camera am I on? Hi. On the forum, Buy Stuff 52 said red's her favorite color, but somehow she rarely scrapbooks with it except for Christmas and patriotic things. Can you suggest some ways I could train myself to start using more red on my pages? And I would say the way to introduce a color is maybe not to go whole hog. And in fact, you'll know from your personality type, are you the kind of person who goes, actually, if I want this new thing in my life, I need to go 100% with it. In which case, if that's your personality, then go for an all red layout and just be like, okay, now I'm used to looking at red. But I think that in a creative process will be a little less prominent. I think most people will probably go along the lines of needing to use it as an accent color a good few times and trying different color combinations before it feels like, okay, this color is home now and this is fine and I'm not scared about it. Everything is fine. If you're using photos that have red in them, that's going to help you. If it always feels Christmas or patriotic, then you need to try other color schemes that are not red, white, and blue and not red and green. And we will definitely be doing that this week, so you're all good there. I do really suggest that whole red, blue, like red, light blue, because it doesn't feel patriotic then. Red, light blue, white, and possibly pink. Red and turquoise as well work really well without being patriotic. Yeah, okay. I think I've got all of the answers to that one. Making sure I haven't skipped anything here. And back to the live chat. Oh, question, what's the mist that I use? So this is the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Gold, which was discontinued. Oh, sorry, I didn't put back to camera 2. This is the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Gold. And it was discontinued and I stocked up, so I've never actually run out, but it is due to come back, I believe, any day now. So, yeah, that's the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Gold. I haven't used other brands of gold mist, but I know other people do have some favorites and it comes up on the forum a lot. So if it's bothering you and you can't find this, you can definitely post on the forum, or somebody might even have a suggestion in the live chat right now for other brands that they have tried and enjoyed. Okay, right. Okay, Orangina says she hasn't seen an official release date yet. Yeah. And Dahlia says red, black, and white is a very grown-up combination to her eye, so she finds it being used for Disney stuff to be quite odd. And I find it funny sometimes because some of my, like, red and black used to be my 100% favorite color combination in like my late teens and early 20s, because I aligned it with things like Emily Strange and Rocky Horror Picture Show. And so when people are like, oh, it's like a little kitty color combination, and I'm going, sorry, what? So I think I'm on the same sort of track here with Dahlia. But yeah, so using different accent colors along the way. But yeah, you'll also see 2 whole layouts and a whole bunch of ink blends and things like that with different color combinations, in addition to the 6 that we did at the beginning of the video. So I hope that gives you lots of different potential for mixing the red. Now, I think all of the other weeks, it makes sense for the edited video to come on Tuesday and then the live on Wednesday, and then another edited video after that. Just to get us started today, it made more sense to do it this way, and because this color scheme was kind of more red plus neutrals, where the others kind of dive into it in a different order. So I believe we'll usually be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. But today, live, and then the next 2 days you'll get edited videos. Yes, Okay. Oh, we've got another question here. Question. Advice, since the red is so alarming if it's spread around the layout that it might appear chaotic. How to avoid this? Okay. Does it feel chaotic here in this layout? Let me put you back on the desk. Because that doesn't feel chaotic to me. That's very ordered. In fact, it's exceptionally ordered for my style of scrapbook page. Yeah, so things that can make a color feel very ordered instead of chaotic: frames, straight lines, triangles, little groupings, rather than splatters. Yeah, and more. Yeah, if this feels chaotic to you, then let me know, because I'll need to think about that one and answer that, because I don't think that feels chaotic. But it might do to your eye, and that's absolutely fine. But I want to make sure that I answer it in the right way. Orangina says she always associates red and black with rockabilly style. Yeah, I have a Minnie Mouse rockabilly dress, so it's just like a red dress with white polka dots, which is very rockabilly, but also in my world very Minnie Mouse. Okay, Les says not on this layout, but if you use it as an accent. So yeah, I would do, like, even if this outside piece was not red and the border strip here wasn't red, if we looked at, it was black and white and, I don't know, blue, but then I wanted to add in red accents, putting it in 3 spots like that would not feel chaotic. You'd be all good there. And so yeah, I think just anything that feels chaotic, you could your answer is probably to go back to following rather than breaking rules of design. Yeah, because rules of design are definitely there to be broken. Once you notice them and you know how they work, you can break them with purpose and be great. And you can make something that you turn the page in your album and you go, oh wow, because you've been following rules, and then you break them. And you break them with purpose. But if something is feeling chaotic and you didn't mean for it to feel chaotic, I would say pull back to rules of design. So break things into thirds, put things in groups of 3, yeah. Use neutrals to divide your bright colors. I think that'll help you. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I will put a finished photo of the layout up on the forum in this thread, and if you watch this on the replay and you're like, now I have a question and no one asked it and the replay is over, it's okay. If you leave it on that same thread on the forum, I will keep an eye on that thread and try to type an answer to anything that comes up, even if it's later in our course time and we're on a different color. That's okay. All right. Thank you so very much for joining me. I hope that you are enjoying everything so far, and I will see you again tomorrow and Friday with edited videos. Keep in mind, I do often have to upload late into the evening, so it may mean that that's Friday and Saturday in your time zone. It just depends, but I'm on it either way. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Do while I push the button.